All right. Well, I do not know where the days go, man. It's like it's already 7 o'clock, and I said I'd try to do 3 videos today. I'm gonna start with the Florida video. The China video is gonna be the longest. That's for the VIP tier. This is for the $10 tier and up, and then I'll try to do a breakdown video as well. The good thing about the breakdown series is that I have so much footage of like me losing my mind. I have the call that I made the FBI to the FBI. I have a lot of interesting stuff that I can start posting as extra content. And I just joined Cameo. I was doing that today. I'm working on June Gloom, trying to get that all ready so that I can release it this summer in June 13th to be exact. I'm hoping I can make that deadline, and I'm putting Drug Stories for Truckers out this week. Got the Narcan thing going, just thing after thing after thing, and then on top of that, being a dad and I don't. Sorry, we don't want to hear your excuses, bitch. Juggle for us. Tell us stories. I'm sorry, I'm a bitch. So let's get into this story. Let's see. It's 7. I'm gonna try to make this one like 30 minutes. I mean, it's hard to do that though. It's like once I get in the flow of like when I'm like really feeling a story, it just kind of goes for as long as it usually goes as long as if I'm feeling it, it's longer. That makes sense. See, I'm just recording. Usually I warm up and I start, beat off a couple times, clean it up with the sock. Come on. I'm like, I just beat off. What's up? Let's tell stories. I like usually try to like open with an intro. I just try to get myself talking. I don't know if that makes sense. Probably does. I'm just a fucking weirdo. Let's get into the story. Okay. So last time that we were talking about everything that happened. Remember, I was living in a halfway house or sober living out in Florida. So I'm in West Palm Beach or Boca. I'm in the Boca. I don't know. I don't even know Florida that well, but Boca, Delray, West Palm Beach. It's all like it's in the general vicinity. And I started living at that sober living house with that guy, Chef, who sold weed. And he was peeing for me for a while, because they drug tested me. That was about it. Remember I said like we didn't go to meetings. We didn't really do anything except we had a curfew and they drug tested us. It was supposed to be like once a month, but I got tested once a week by this older blonde cougar lady. And then I ended up fucking her in her Audi. And because Chef was these dogs, my landlord's dogs are so annoying. Because Chef was providing me with the clean urine, I was always beating them, and I've been hanging out with that guy, TJ, this white guy. He thought he was black. He hung out with really lame Asian guys. Pretty sure they were butt fucking. Yeah, I think he was like standing on like a stool, the kind of stool that like guys sit on when they like shine boots. Those like little stools. They have them at like malls where there's shoe shining going on. Does that even happen anymore? They do that at Nordstrom's. I don't know if you guys have that, but at Nordstrom's they still shine shoes. I'm pretty sure that he stood up on one of those little. They still shine boots. I'm pretty sure that he stood on one of those boot shining stools and got butt fucked by these Asian guys with their kit cars, and they'd always be like, "Yo, you want to buy some fizz?" They talk like that. You want to buy fizz? What's that? It's fizz, motherfucker. And they listen to like the Yin Yang Twins and shit. And fizz is ecstasy, and they sold boats, which is 1,000. And around this time, I had gotten into well, no, not yet. I'm about to get into cocaine though out there. Coke is pretty prevalent in South Florida. It's cheap, it's good quality. But during this period, before I'd gotten caught, because Chef used to give me he used to give me clean urine, you know. Every time that I'd be like, damn, they're testing me again, he'd be like, damn, really? Well, I bet that blonde bitch want to fuck you. He didn't talk that. It wasn't some old black guy. I don't know why I'm saying that, but He'd always be like, damn, I think that chick wants to fuck you. I'd be like, no, I don't think she does. And then she'd be flirtatious. And I go back and be like, oh my God, I think she wants to fuck me. But like, I already know. And he would give me clean pee because, I mean, even though she was flirtatious, I think that we still knew that if I got a dirty drug test, that I was going to be screwed. So when he left, as you know, I went down and I was just like, I'll just pee in this bottle. She flirts with me. She probably won't get me busted. I get it dirty for opiates and marijuana. And she tells me that I have to go to detox. It's the only way that they'll readmit me. Now, you also have to understand that at this time, my relationship with my parents was absolutely strained. It's probably like the worst point of our relationship while I'd been in Florida. When I first went out there and I was running away from different rehabs and I was like running away. Remember, I ran away with that girl, Christina, and then like she was from Texas, and she's like, all right, well, now I got to suck some guy's cock in the gas station parking lot. I thought we were like in love. I thought we were gonna get like an apartment, maybe have like a kid or two, cuddle up, watch chick flicks. No, she wanted to suck dudes off in pickup trucks to support our drug habits. That didn't last very long. And there was like, I don't know. I mean, this is in 2004, 2005. I mean, I can't really remember, that like all the details from back then. I know that I went to that rehab, left several times, and then there was the whole thing where I had the bisexual sponsor, and then I got the dirty drug test for benzos, but it was a false positive, and they kicked me out in the middle of the street, and I relapsed with that guy that smoked crack, and then I lived with that gay guy, and then he took off, and then I ended up fucking with that biker slut from New Jersey. Fucking weirdo, huh? So I had, my parents, I was homeless for a little bit out there. Then I won that scratcher. Then I thought I was a chomo. I mean, a lot of bad stuff was happening. But what was happening during this time is I was talking to Kelly a lot. She was like the only person that would listen to me. My relationship with my parents got strained. It was like to the point where like if I got kicked out of another sober living, it was right back to homelessness for me. And I just couldn't hang, with the bipolar weather in Florida, where like 1 second it's like the clear skies and you're just like, oh man, homeless at the beach, this doesn't even suck. This is actually kind of chill. Everyone that works 9 to 5, a bunch of idiots. It's like perfect blue skies, and then like 20 minutes later, like dark clouds form, and you're just like, fuck, and then and like torrential rain is just, and you're like, being homeless, it's so hard out here. And then I'd call my parents and be like, can I get $50? And anyway, they were just getting sick of it. And I didn't want to be homeless again. So when I got there to do a drug test with this cougar, the cougar, I knew that I pretty much had to play, hey, you're being a bad dog. I pretty much knew that I had to play ball with her, so she's like, you need to go to this detox. Then I ended up fucking her. I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. Like, do I still need to go to detox? She's like, yes. I was like, just use me for my dick. Checks out. Everyone does that. Nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody wants to connect emotionally. They just want my cock. So what? You're running out of material. So anyway, I end up going to this place, and it's a state-run detox. Now, and I've explained this in other videos, like I'm used to going to like plush rehabs where like 1 week I'm like smoking crack with like trannies. I always say that. Why do I say that? I've never smoked. I don't think I've ever smoked a crack with a tranny. I think it just sounds cool. I've said that in AA meetings, when the guys are like, and then I hit my bottom. 3 hangovers in a row. All bad, homeboy. And I'm like, oh yeah? Every time I do drugs, I smoke crack with trannies in Bakersfield, bitch. Like, I think it's funny, and people at AA meetings are like, ew, yuck. Anyone that's been to meetings knows that the AA crowd, they just think the dope fiends are so gross, they're all clean cut with their little like sweaters. Nobody has tattoos. Everyone's just like, I used to drink mimosas and Now I have a coffee commitment at this meeting. And then, if you're the Dauphin, they all just kind of like talk shit about you. So I'd never been to a state-run detox. And this particular place, as I talked about in the last video, it was like military-style barracks. I was one of the only white guys. I was predominantly black and predominantly Puerto Rican. I also was one of the only people there that was probably under 40. And I was one of the only people there that had teeth. Most of these people are like, they got the Gramp look. Are you in here for smoking crack? Well, no, I'm in here for heroin. What are you in here for? Oh, smoking crack. Oh. Could have fooled me, man. You don't look like you smoke crack. Oh, you're too kind. I'm like, ugh. They had dentures at one point, but they like sold it and like stood on the street sign. They're like, my family and I lost everything. Just buy these dentures. They're worth like $47. I'll give it to you for 10. People are like, oh my God, that's so sad. Here's $10. You can keep your dentures. Oh, thanks, man. That kind of shit. So I'm there, and at a state, so like at these plush detoxes, like I said, you smoke crack, when do heroin, you're like on some crazy epic drug run. In my case, I was like shooting a bunch of meth and watching lesbian porn with a stripper, Brittany, back in Santa Barbara before I'd come. And then like a week later, I'm like watching sunsets and drinking virgin pina coladas, and I'm like getting mud baths, getting my butthole sprayed with a bidet, an Evian bidet. They're like, does that feel good? I'm like, bomb, keep going. Oh, feel sober. This shit is effective. But at a state-run place, it's not like that at all. It's like it's rows of barracks, and they had this. They'd give you you get issued a metallic tin can, and I'm like, what's that for? And they're like, vomitus. I'm like, damn, dude, like, you guys have a restroom? They're like, it's out of order. Puke in the vomitus bucket. I'm like, ugh. And it was funny because it would have like, they'd write your name on it with like masking tape with Sharpie. So it would say Ryan. And you could see like all these different names that were there before me. And it was like no white names. It was like Jesus, Tyrone Bigham, shit like that, Not Tyrone Biggums, but Lakeisha, Kevin Smith, Fat Juan, nicknames and shit. And so, I don't know. State-run detoxes are like a straight up nightmare. Like you just hear the reverberation of like, people kicking. It's horrific. And I'm going to just take a little TO for a second because I got to say this. And I'll tell this story in its entirety because it's worth saying, but I'll just give you a little teeny piece of it. I went to Burning Man. I've been to Burning Man a couple times. I went to Burning Man in 2007 for the first time. And Burning Man, if you don't know, it's an orgy, No, it's a festival out in the middle of the desert, and there's weird stuff going on there. I went there with Paul, my friend that passed away that I'm starting the Narcan thing for. And it was expensive. It was like $400 a ticket, but back then I was selling drugs. I was driving a Tahoe. Anyway, we went there and all sorts of crazy shit happened. But like the second day that I was there, they have like, it's pretty much like a huge city that gets erected in the middle of the desert. And for like the week that Burning Man goes on, it's a festival. It's an arts festival is what it's supposed to be. So people make these big, like almost like parade floats out of wood, and like, there's all this like psychedelia stuff, big, day glow colors, and like bunch of nudity. Like when we pulled in there, I was with Paul, and we were like strung out like lab rats on heroin in my Tahoe, and we were like pulling in at like 7 a.m, and we saw this couple. They had to be in like their late 60s, and they're sitting in a lawn chair, butt naked. They have like that really like leathery skin, where it's just like tough. It looks like a pitcher's mitt or something. And they were just straight up fucking. This couple in their late 60s on a lawn chair, butt naked, just fucking outside of their trailer. And I'm like cruising in my Tahoe, and I look, and I'm like, what do you think? And Paul's like, I was like, yeah, it's pretty bomb for sure. I mean, I think people just go there and it's hedonistic and people kind of just like live out their fantasies. You know, you can actually like go to an orgy. They like have like little program books. It's like, my desk is so messy. It's like a little program books like this. This is from my prison reform event. But like, you know, you get like a little brochure that looks like this and it's like, oh, dude, there's an orgy at 3 o'clock. Do you want to go? I don't know, man. I'm feeling kind of constipated. So what? So what? Use your mouth, queer. And you're like, let's go. But yeah, I mean, they have like group orgies. It like says there in like the small print, it's like bring your own condoms. But anyway, the point is like there's different things you can do. There's like a water slide in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's just like a weird carnival of like weirdness, nudity, sex, drugs. They'll show like Fear and Loathing on this huge like outdoor like drive-in movie theater screen thing. And one of the things they had there was like a tea party. It's like, come to the 3 o'clock doomsday tea party. Everyone will dress up like pirates. Some people are giving hand jobs. Drink chai tea and get hand jobbed. And you're like, I don't know. What do you want to do? The water slide, or do you want to go get hand jobbed and drink chai tea? And Paul's like, hand jobbed. I'm like, let's go. They have like glory holes. That's a whole nother story. But like we came up, I was on acid one time and I got naked for 24 hours. I was like, I'm gonna get naked for, and you know, I got a root beer barrel dick. It's like this big. It's like that big. That big. My balls are bigger than my dick, which is sucks. You know what I mean? But we were like walking, so I was walking naked with a sombrero on, and then we find this like wooden glory hole. And if for those of you that don't know what that is, I can't believe I know what that is. It's like a hole that you stick your dick in, and somebody's like on the other side, like their sole purpose in life is just to suck dick from the other side. And you don't know if it's a guy or a girl. You don't know. Try that on acid. Like, yeah, just stick your dick into this warm hole. It's wood that's in the middle of nowhere. It's like a piece of wood with like a porta potty attached to it. Somebody's like literally sitting in there. You know, they're probably like eating like, you know, cup of soups, like the hot, like spicy beef kind, and like just barely sipping it, drinking the broth and being like, I'm sucking anything that comes through that hole. And then your little dick just goes through and someone just handles it. And I remember coming up on that and Paul's like, don't do it. I was like, fuck it. I don't even care. I want to get my dick sucked. I'm fucking tripping. He's like, dude, what if it's a guy? I was like, I'm tripping. And then I'm like, take my pants off and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? No, I can't stick my dick in a hole. What if it is a dude? Paul's like, yeah. And then like, we're like leaving and we see this little like decrepit old man that has like, you know, a permanent hunch. He has like these little beady glasses and eyes. He's like, I was like, oh, that's the guy that was sucking dick. And he's like, hey, shh, I'm going back to my camp spot. Oh, Cincinnati blood. We're like, what? What does that mean? Oh, Cincinnati blood. And he starts like humming it. This is a true story. So then, did the whole the Burning Man thing? I'll tell in either. Think I'm gonna do a whole series for Paul, or I might do include this in the psychedelic series. But the point is, and how this relates to the Florida story that I'm telling you right now, is we went to this chai tea party, and there were like all these tapestries, you know, and it was like, you know, it looked like you're at like some head shop or like some hipster's house or something, like all these tapestries. You're like in a yurt and everybody's drinking chai tea and it's all free. Everything's free at Burning Man. It's a barter system. It's like, hey dude, do you have a pack of cigarettes? I got these Marlboros. I'm just trying to get my ass licked. What's up, fool? And you're like, I don't know. I don't know, man. We can probably find a better deal somewhere else. Let's go. Fuck that, dude. So we go to this chai tea party and they're just giving away free chai tea. And like the guy that's giving it away is wearing this like, you know, Timothy Leary, like Jesus, like, you know, some like white satin, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like some godly, like, it looks like Jesus, you know, like, yeah, what's up, brother? He's like a beard. He's like, here's his chai tea. And like his eyes are all saucer. I'm like, hey, this is just chai tea, right? He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. Start tasting it right away. It's bitter. I know something's up. I'm like, is there any like, there's not any like hallucinogens in there? You know, this isn't like mushroom tea or anything. Oh, and he just like can't even answer it. Paul's like, stop being a bitch, just drinking. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Cheers. No, I'm the only one drinking it, by the way. They're like, I'm like, why don't you get one? He's like, I don't trust that guy. I'm like, what the fuck? You just told me to drink it. So I start drinking this chai tea. So about an hour later, I get sick, violently ill, projectile vomiting, and you know, Paul's like, we're walking, and Paul's like people are looking at me, and you know, in Burning Man, there's all sorts of freaks everywhere. So I mean, it's not like out of the ordinary. This some like skinny, shirtless junkies, like just projectile vomit everywhere. Paul's pointing at me. He's like, one beer, one beer. I'm like, shut up. As soon as I start puking, I realize that I'm tripping. And to make a long story short, because I'll go into it in its own story, but it was peyote. It was peyote for sure, because peyote, mescaline, anything that's from that cactus makes you violently sick. And I just started tripping balls. And like peyote, I've done 3 times. This was the second time I did. But the first time I did it, I was dope sick at like 4 a.m. My buddy Sean and I'm like, we need drugs, and we're looking through my closet, and we found this bag of peyote buttons, and I'm like, I'm eating it, fuck it, and I eat one dope sick. Horrible trip. That's its own story. That's for the psychedelic story. But the second time, again, I didn't, you know, you have to be in like a right state of mind to take ayahuasca or ibogaine or peyote, any of these like really hard hallucinogens. You can't just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to drink this because it's tea. Fuck it. Not that kind of thing. You know, you're talking about like 30 to 70 hours of straight up tripping hard, and it's a nauseating kind of fucked up trip. So I started tripping, and I started having a freak out. You know, I'm like, help me, help me. And, you know, Paul's just like, dude, you're such a buzzkill. I'm like, it's easy for you to say, you're just drunk, dude. I'm fucking on peyote right now. It's just horrible. So they end up taking me to this infirmary, and there's an infirmary there, but it's basically just for people that are having a bad trip. So just imagine going into some huge yurt. A yurt's like a big tent. You go into this big yurt, and it's just a bunch of people laying in these like hospital cots, and they're all screaming because they're having a horrible trip. Ah, my sister knew Christ, you know, shit like that. And you're like, oh. And when you're already having a bad trip, that's the last thing you want, is a bunch of other people having a bad trip at the same time. And it just reminded me of that, because when I got to this detox in Florida, this state-run one, they give you ibuprofen, 800 milligrams, the strong kind. And you're in this barrack style, and there's a bunch of people just having like a really bad trip. It's awful. It's nightmarish. It's horrible. And, you know, you got these like toothless, sounds so right, these toothless black guys. I was like the only white guy there. There's all these like older, wow, just puke in the bucket for the vomiters. I'm just like, this is a nightmare. I mean, imagine having to kick cold turkey in huge, like in jail, it's hard enough when you're kicking, especially because everyone wants to beat you up. You ever notice, like when you're in jail, like people come up to you and they'll be like, hey dog, yeah, I heard you're fucking Malias, dog. I heard that you're kicking heroin right now, fool. Is that true? You're kicking Chiva? Yeah, I'm sick. Yeah, hey, don't even trip, dog. My uncle, he does shit like that, kind of. He kind of does drugs too, dog. I already know, like, the kind of stuff that, like, make you feel better, you know what I mean, dog? You know what I'm talking about, Pedro? Yeah, you have something? I do, dog. It's in my box, though, fool. Let me go get that shit for you. I got you. Got you. They come back and they give you, like, one Jolly Rancher, and it's like the purple kind, you know what I mean? It's like grape. You know what the fuck is? At least give me a good one. Give me the blue one. Give me the green one. Not the fucking purple grape. This sucks. And that's what they think. Like when you're in county, like they actually think that by giving you Jolly Rancher or a Hershey's Kiss. It's going to make you feel better. But it's almost worse when you're in a state-run detox like this, because you're with just all these people and everyone's just puking, and people are literally shitting in these tin buckets that they issue you, and like it was crazy. Like they'll like run, you'll hear them so there's like a glass um like front desk area, like at a methadone clinic. There's like a glass window thing, and you can like talk, like at Planned Parenthood or like at state-run doctors' places, and like you'll hear people be like, "Oh, Marty stole my bucket. Marty stole my bucket." Now, Robert, this is the 5th time that you've accused someone of stealing your bucket. That's the only property you have, is this tin bucket, and then they give you like this shitty like wool blanket that's super uncomfortable. Everyone knows that like if you're kicking in jail or anywhere and you use wool blanket, it makes you like super itchy, and it just is horrible. So I didn't know how long I could take it. I knew that if I didn't kick cold turkey, that I was going to go back to being homeless. So I kind of just had to, kind of, I don't know, just tough it out. Now, of course, we've talked about it several times before. Whenever I'm kicking, the only thing that makes me feel better is masturbating. Now, there's science behind it. It's not just me being some weirdo. I'm not just some straight pervert. I am a pervert, and I'm straight. I don't like dick. But when you masturbate, it releases dopamine. When you eat chocolate, it releases dopamine. So maybe the Hershey's chocolate, maybe that helps to some degree. But jerking off really helps. And I don't know if it's the same for women. I'd imagine it is, because it's a chemical response when you have an orgasm. So you beat off, and the whole time that you're beating off, a little bit of dopamine is like trickling into your brain. Usually when you've been shooting heroin or doing methadone or any sort of synthetic for a long enough time, the dopamine has been depleted pretty significantly, to the point where you're not getting the same sort of neurological rewards that you would, if there wasn't any depletion going on. So jerking off, the act of doing it makes you feel better. But when you come, you feel really good for about 2 seconds. And as soon as that rush of orgasm goes away, you're instantly propelled back into withdrawal. Now, back in the day, I'd go to county jail and I'd like wait all day so that I could like jerk off covertly in my bunk. You don't want to get caught jerking off in front of people. I mean, then you're that guy. You hear about the white boy beating his shit? Fucking foul. Ugh. You don't want to be that guy. And I've told you I've mastered it. So like instead of like, my dick's not that big. Instead of jerking off like this, if you do the reverse grip, it doesn't have the same movement. We've talked about this a million times. So I've literally learned to be able to masturbate in the middle of the day. People around you, I can hear their conversations. The kind of conversations. Jay-Z got more money than 50 Cent. Tell me I'm wrong. On the dead homies, Jay-Z got more money than 50 Cent. Tell me something different, motherfucker. And you're just sitting there and you're just like, you just come and you're like, and then you're just like back into reality. It's really the only thing I had to survive. I had that, and I had my vomitous bucket. That's all I had. So and you have to guard your bucket. Motherfuckers will steal that. I don't know why, but that's like the only currency there. There's no tobacco. You get, I guess you get like, your little meals or whatever that you can trade, but the bucket, you have more. Whoever has the most buckets, the king. The coolest guy, he'd been there like 15 years. He had like a beard. He had like a walking stick and shit. He's like the Moses of this detox center. He had like 5 buckets. Nobody fucked with him. Whoever has the buckets has the power. You know what I mean? So I ended up staying there for a few days, and I was kicking cold turkey, not sleeping. They give you ibuprofen twice a day, which honestly I looked forward to. I'd be like, oh, is the pill call yet? Oh, you gotta chill down. You gotta chill out, young buck. If they know that you want the ibuprofen, they won't give you the ibuprofen. If you know what I mean. I'm like, yeah, I know what you mean, man. I'm not gonna act like I want the ibuprofen. But a dope fiend thinks like that. You're like, fuck, it's pill call. Got to get the ibuprofen. You're like first in line because you think it'll give you some sort of relief, placebo as it may be. I mean, it does give you some relief because it's an anti-inflammatory drug. So I end up making it. It's horrible. I mean, it was literally jerking off, going, eating. I wasn't socializing with anyone. There was a payphone, but I didn't want to use it. Who am I going to call? I could call Kelly, but she's from Michigan and she has that Midwestern, accent. And she just always kind of lecture me with that. And that's the worst kind of accent to be lectured in. It's like the Bobby's world. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, Bobby, don't you know? But I can't say it like to fit what I'm saying. Oh, Ryan, the arrow. I can't do it. Fuck. I mean, sometimes I try the voices and they don't work. But anyway, so I didn't want to call her. So I end up making it out of that place. And I didn't kick for a full week. I was probably there for like 4 days, I want to say. So by the time that I got back to the sober living, I was still sick. And of course, in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to hit up TJ. I'm going to go. I'm going to get well. Fuck this. I only went to try to appease this chick that ended up boning me. Like, how unprofessional, lady. You're taking somebody that's clearly sick with addiction and you fuck them in the back of your convertible. That's whack. I should have filed some sort of report, you predatory bitch. Taking advantage of me with my fresh sun ink. I just got the sun tattoo. Weird ass tattoo I got. So I get back there and she sees me and she's like, hey. I'm like, hey. She's like, are we a couple now? I'm like, no. Are we a couple now? What about how am I doing? What about, hey, are you still feeling sick? Are we a couple? I said, we're not a couple. You're like in your late 30s, dude. I'm like 19. No, you're not my girlfriend just because I fucked you. That doesn't mean anything. Wow. Well, why don't you go up to your room and why don't you think about the fact that you're playing with somebody else's feelings and you're ripping my heart out like it's a common accordion. I don't know if she said something like that, but it was like something to that effect. Something like weird that's like, okay, whatever. So I end up going up to my room and you gotta like appreciate the weirdness of the situation. Like now she's mad at me because she thinks like, I hate that when you like have sex with someone and then they think that like, hey, it was really nice fucking last night for the first time. I'm thinking that we should get our names tattooed on each other in Asian lettering. That's the worst. I'm just like, ugh, fuck that. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go do drugs. So predictable, junkie. You are such a drug addict. So I'm at this place and I call TJ and I basically am like, dude, you need to get me out of here, man. I'm losing my shit. And TJ always let me come over. Even if I didn't have money, he knew that my money was good and he knew that eventually I'd come pay my bills. So right when I get there, and I was on like, I couldn't leave or whatever, but I just left anyway, kind of thinking in my head that like, maybe, maybe I was just going to leave, and go live with TJ because I always really had that option. I knew that if I lived with him, that things were going to get bad really quickly. So I end up going over to his house, knowing that if I leave the sober living, there's a good chance that I'm going to get kicked out. I leave and I get there and he's like with some other guy. Of course. It's not an Asian guy. It's some other like straight dirtbag junkie guy. And like right when I got there, I'm like, guys, I need a shot. And I remember this very clearly. They only had like a few needles and they weren't clean. And they're like, we only have dirty rigs. And I was like, I don't even care. I just want to get high because I was still like in the middle of being sick. And I remember him being like, kid, you're going to die that way someday. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're going to get AIDS. And I was like, I already have Hep C. How much worse can it get? He's like, how much worse? He's like, AIDS is a little worse than Hep C. I'm like, whatever, dude. It's all the same shit. So I'm like sharing these dirty rigs with this guy. And I talked to Kelly. Now I'm on the phone with her. And this sober living ends up calling me. It's this girl that had, that had sex with me and had put me in the detox and said that I couldn't leave. And she told me that I was kicked out. She's like, don't even bother coming back. The only time we want to see you again is to come get your stuff. And you know what, Ryan? Life lesson. You don't fuck people and just completely disregard their feelings. That's what a piece of shit does. Are you a piece of shit? Or are you recovered? Okay. I got back on the phone with Kelly and she's like, hey, what happened? I was like, I got kicked out of the sober living. And she's like, what? Now at this point, we were like kind of trying to make a relationship. We had been talking that way. I mean, like we'd been hinting at that for many years, and we were kind of like, those are the conversations that we were having. And she gets in this huge, huge, huge fight with me, basically telling me like that I'll never change because I just got kicked out of this place. And she was getting she's like, how do you ever expect that we can have any sort of future if you're getting kicked out of your sober living? You can't stay at rehab. She's like, what's next? Jail? What's next? I'm going to be putting money on your books for commissary. I can't do it with you anymore. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, you know what? I talked to my mom. And now at this point, I was talking to her mom a lot. Her mom's name's Sandy. She's like, I talked to my mom, and you know what she told me? You know what she told me, Ryan? She told me that I'm enabling you by talking to you because I'm basically co-signing for your bullshit, and I'm not down with that anymore. So you know what? Until you have a year clean and sober, don't call me again. I was like, what? She ends up hanging up on me. So now I'm upset. So I'm at their house and I start getting really kind of sloppy, with my heroin. He had fronted me. I think my mom actually had sent me money. I don't really remember, but I know that I had like a gram of China White, which I think he was selling for like 150 or something at the time. Jeez. Don't look at me like that. I'm sorry. I let you sleep in here. So I'm getting really sloppy, and TJ basically he's with this other guy. Now I don't know what they're doing. He's probably standing on the shoe shining stool and getting butt fucked by this guy too. This guy was like some white dude with a big old beer belly. And I'm getting reckless, and I'm just doing humongous shots. Usually like I'm a little more careful and reserved, and I make sure that I'm like not putting myself in harm's way. I'm just doing humongous shots. And eventually they confiscate it from me. And they're like, nah, bro, you're being way too reckless right now. We're taking the dope from you. I was like, what do you mean? And they just took it from me. So they end up going into TJ's room and they're watching The Simpsons. I can hear it. I can hear like the opening song from The Simpsons. And I'm in a really bad mood. I just got kicked out of my sober living. Now I'm kind of like staying with TJ, but he's an asshole. He's one of those, sure that if you're a drug addict, you've had drug dealers that are just complete, like they know that you need them so they can get away with a bunch of bullshit. He was one of those kind of guys. So what ends up happening is they pass out in the other room watching The Simpsons. I'm in a bad mood because of the sober living, because of Kelly, and because of my situation right now. Just everything. I'm just in a bad mood, and I'm belligerent, and I'm doing reckless shots. Once they go to bed, I start searching the apartment for the heroin. And I'm looking everywhere, and I'm thinking that it's probably in their room, and that me looking for it's kind of a waste of time. It's like maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. I had passed out for a while. I got back up and I started looking again, and I look at this cookie jar that's in the kitchen, and I ended up finding the rest of my sack. And it was a lot. I don't know how much it was, but it was like, way more than like 2 or 3 of my normal doses or shots or whatever. And I remember I was just so high already that I didn't even care. And I just put the rest of the bag in a spoon, added a little water, and just drew it up. And I went in the bathroom and I was looking for a vein. And I went to go, I guess I finally found a vein, and I hit. And all I remember is blackness, I literally, it's not the kind of thing where when I overdosed, I knew that I was overdosing. all I remember is that I was in the bathroom looking for a vein, and I must have found one because it just faded to blackness. And we can get into what happens next. We're getting close to the Mike Virgin stuff. I'm going to have everyone sign a non-disclosure agreement so that we can do the Megan video without, like, I mean, it's going to say on there that you can't record it, that you can't release it. It's stupid shit. I don't give a fuck. If it was up, I don't care. If it was up to me, I would just show you guys my dick and be like, hey, that's what it looks like. So what? Say some shit. My personality's pretty bomb. Too bomb? Thank you guys. Appreciate you. I'm trying to get like 3 videos knocked out, and I know I got to this one late. I appreciate you. Sorry for the shortness, and it's pretty much about nothing, but I'm trying to give you guys content because I've been so busy lately. I'm just trying to juggle a bunch. But let me get on to the next stuff. Now I'm going to get China done, or maybe the new breakdown story done, but I want to do 3 videos today. That's my goal. All right, guys. See you next time. Palabra.